This is Joshua Hart here, 4 seconds out. Delighted to be joined by Adam Smith here in Bournemouth. Adam, we've just seen a brilliant little main event there between Ryan Garner and Reece Bellotti. A bit of an all-action fight there. Ryan Garner obviously coming out on top with the 12th round stoppage. Just give me your thoughts and feelings after that main event.
I thought he was really good tonight, Ryan. And beforehand, it was one of the fights I was looking forward to most on the calendar, on the schedule. Two honest gladiators, two great little fighters. Plenty of respect between the pair. I know both of them well. And yeah, Reece Bellotti's had a phenomenal sort of Indian summer to his career. 6 wins on the trot. You never thought that he'd do that. British and Commonwealth champion. And I think he felt, obviously, in his team that he'd have too much experience for Ryan tonight. But I thought Ryan boxed really well. I think he's getting better and better. I think he's always had talent, but I think the discipline, dedication side of it has not always been tip-top. And I think he's knuckled down. I bumped into him actually a few weeks ago at a service station in North London. He'd been sparring, and there's a difference in him now. He's taking everything seriously. He's got a great family set up, and I think he knows that Frank Warren loves him, and he could have the big fight at St Mary's. The following is terrific. He's exciting to watch. I thought tonight he got into a rhythm. I thought his balance was good, and he won most of the rounds to me, and obviously got the stoppage at the end. And I thought Reece Bellotti was just struggled a bit tonight. I just spoke to him, and it didn't really seem he wanted to disrupt the rhythm of Garner, and it never quite worked out. He had a couple of moments, of course, and he was competitive, but I thought he was just a little step behind tonight, and just wasn't his night. Maybe at 34 and the 28-year-old Ryan, fresher, 18th fight, on the way up, and maybe it was a case of the right fight at the right time and great matchmaking. But yeah, I feel for Reece because he's a great guy, and we all love him in the sport. But it was Ryan's night, and what a performance in front of his home fans on the South Coast. Again, I was here for his European title win a few months ago, and he's done it again. It was a louder atmosphere. It was brilliant, and this is in Bournemouth. Imagine what Southampton's going to be like, and I'm sure Frank's licking his lips at the prospect of St Mary's next spring or summer.
Absolutely. Just on Reece quickly, you mentioned the Indian summer that he's had at a point of his career where nobody really thought he would be able to do anything, and to go from on the brink of just being left in the dark really to British Commonwealth and just one fight away from being outright. Where does he go next from here? What is next for Reece Bellotti?
I think he'll have a rest, and he'll talk to his family and see what's there. Obviously, it's a defeat. He's lost his titles, so he'll probably want to try and win them back. Get that British belt again. Maybe if Ryan moves on and vacates, there'll be an opportunity. There's always opportunities in boxing, but you've got to also look at the situation. And he's had almost a 10-year career. He was a good amateur. He's had a job as well as an electrician too. He's got a lovely family set up, and he'll have a think and a rest at 34. The form he's been in, he just lost to the better guy tonight. Of course he can come again, but it's up to him and his team, and they'll make that decision about when to come back. But we've learnt to write Reece Bellotti off at our peril, and he's come back and performed time and again. So I've got no doubt if the cards are sort of stacked in his favour in terms of belts becoming vacant, whatever, that he could fight for a British title again. But he's won a British and Commonwealth crown, and that's amazing to the position he was in a few years ago. You never have thought that. So I'm really pleased for Reece. He's a lovely lad, and they're two great guys. I was really looking forward to this fight because I just have so much respect for the pair of them. And in a way, I think it's a better story that Ryan moves on with the Southampton fans, and he gets the dream shot probably at St Mary's next spring or summer. I think he could have a couple more fights at this sort of level before he goes for the world title. But now he's got his dedication, his discipline. He's taking it really seriously. He's got the talent. Carl Frampton told me beforehand he sparred with both of them, and he thought Ryan Garner's the one that could go on to become a world champion. I don't think he's wrong.
I'm going to throw a few names at you for Ryan Garner now, because me and a couple of lads ringside were talking about it. Could it possibly be time to revisit Garner versus Kakachi? Obviously, it was meant to get made back on I think it was the first instalment of the Magnificent Seven back in 2023.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I think this when Kakashi had only just won the IBO title.
But look at Kakashi now; he's absolutely flying at world level. He's a danger for anyone. So I don't know if I'd do that fight just yet for Ryan Garner. I think I'd wait a little. I don't know. It's a great fight, but I think Ryan maybe needs one or two more before that fight. I would say. I think Kakashi's just got the momentum at that top level on him after the Lee Wood win. But yeah, it's a great fight, and it's a fight I'd love to see.
I'm going to throw another name, and this is one that I don't think many people have suggested, but what about possibly, because Lee Wood wants to return and have another fight, how about visit Garner versus Lee Wood?
I like that.
I think that makes for a brilliant matchup, whether you do that again down here in Bournemouth or take it to Nottingham. I think both sell huge amounts of tickets. Do you think that could be a logical next step?
Yeah, we could take the Southampton fans up to Nottingham for a sort of away trip. That would be good fun, wouldn't it? They could take 2,000 or 3,000 up there and a few thousand come out for Lee Wood. Yeah, of course, Lee sells brilliantly in Nottingham, or again, you could do it down here. He's sort of outgrowing the Bournemouth International Centre, which is a fantastic venue, but of course it's got a capacity, and it looked absolutely packed to the rafters tonight. So yeah, I don't know what that in-between sort of arena is. Maybe it is something like that. They go to London or Nottingham or somewhere with him before St Mary's, because as we saw with Fabio Wardley, you need a big crowd. You need 15,000, 20,000, and I think they'll get that. I think Southampton are starved a little bit of sporting success, you know, the football club out of the Premier League. I think that they're a big sporting community and they get behind their own, and I think that it will be fantastic to see a big event at St Mary's. I've no doubt he'll sell huge amounts of tickets, but I think maybe they'll a couple of fights before that. Also, it's obviously the time of year too. He's just fought in July. By the time he's ready to go again, it'll be October, November. There's not going to be an outdoor stadium at that point. So we're going to have probably one, if not two more fights before that world title tilt. And I'm sure they'll sharpen his tools and get him ready for it.
Absolutely. Adam, while I've still got you, some big news tonight. Dennis McCann has broke his silence on the drug test. I think the news came out during the Alois Junior fight. Okay. I think it was about round 8 when I'd seen it.
Okay, I haven't been online.
You've been on commentary, haven't you? So from reading what the Times have said, and I'm going to read out this tweet from Everything Boxing. An administrative. I can't even speak today.
Administrative.
Yeah, that dispute has reportedly become a key part of Dennis McCann's defence for his positive test for banned substances. Drostanolone, Trenbolone, and 19 nor something else. But McCann's team reportedly expected to make arguments relating to the chain of custody and how the handling of his blood and urine samples compromised the validity of the test.
Okay.
So it seems that, listening to an interview that Dennis has done, he said that he spent hundreds and hundreds of £1,000s out of his own pocket trying to defend the matter. And seems like something's gone wrong along the way. Maybe
it's possible. Anything's possible. It's always a curious one. The failure of a drug test, especially if you watch these athletes and you think there's no way they can be on drugs, or they would take drugs knowingly because they know the consequences, and also they want to do it the clean way. But unfortunately, there are drugs around boxing. There's no place for them, and yeah, look, I'd heard that the McCann team were spending some time looking at it and working out why it happened. And obviously it's a legal process that's going to go through, and we'll watch this space. But as I said, there's no place for drugs. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. I don't know. I'm not around it. That's for the VADAs and the British boards and the legal teams to look at and work out the rights and wrongs. But yeah, I'm sure they'll try and get to the bottom of it. And if he's spent a lot of money, then hopefully he'll get the right outcome. The right outcome is what's important. But I don't know enough about it. All I heard was that he was out. He failed the tests, and now we find out if that's right or wrong, and whether there are administrative errors, or we just don't know. We're the media. We watch and listen and wait, but ultimately none of us really know the facts or the evidence, because sometimes we don't get close enough.
Frank Warren said a few weeks ago in an interview with Box Nation that the way it had been handled is a farce, in his words.
Obviously, I remember that, yeah.
We don't know, like you said, we don't know the full details, but if what is being said by, obviously, Frank saying it's a farce and Dennis breaking his silence there, and from what it sounds like, he believes that he is innocent, how damaging could it be, and would people possibly need to look into VADA a bit more so they don't make these mistakes again? Because someone's career has been put on hold severely here, and reputation.
Absolutely. If he hasn't taken drugs and it's something's gone wrong, then of course it's catastrophic for him, really, in his career. But do we ever really find out the truth in some of these the tests? Why do they happen? What's gone in the system? Who's ultimately responsible? A lot of fighters that have tested positive for drugs, in fact, probably 95% of them say they're innocent, or maybe even 100%. Most of them say they're innocent, and they have a reason. Now, the reason could be they were fed something, they were given something, they didn't know about it, etc., etc. But ultimately, I guess an athlete has to take responsibility for what's in the system. And if you get caught or if you test positive, there's got to be an understanding of what's happened, whether that's something you don't believe that you didn't do, which seems to be pretty much what every fighter says, that it wasn't them, they didn't know, they'd never do it. But ultimately, some have tested positive and some have tested positive more than once. And that's the difficulty with this. And we don't get close enough. We say, oh, it costs a lot of money for VADA testing, and some is urine, some is blood. Ultimately, the more testing, the better. But if that testing's not right, then what can we go on? It's a difficult situation. But if Frank Warren's come out with something as strong as that, and the McCann team have come out with their defence, then it'll be very interesting to watch how this develops.
Just moving on, Adam. Also, I don't want to keep you for too much longer, as it is pretty late into the night now. Daniel Dubois last week at Wembley Stadium, not his night. But an interesting thing in the aftermath is this pre-fight party that you had, listening to Don Charles on TalkSport and in interviews with various outlets, including us here as well at Seconds Out. They did the same thing before the Anthony Joshua fight as well, and it worked that day. We saw the Daniel Dubois that day. So do you feel this pre-fight party played a part in Dubois not being at the races last week?
I think it's taking away the brilliance of Oleksandr Usyk. I think Wembley was a phenomenal night, setting, atmosphere, those ring walks, the crowd, the love of Usyk, and just being in the presence of someone as great, and what a ruthless, relentless, destructive performance he gave. And he's become undisputed champion for a third time. It's an extraordinary story. Pound for pound king, and in my eyes, one of the top 10 probably greatest fighters of all time, not just as heavyweight. But the guy started as a middleweight amateur, and he's cleaned up in the unpaid ranks, 358 wins, 24 wins as a professional. He's moved up from cruiserweight, cleaning up there up to heavyweight, done it twice, beaten everybody twice pretty much, and could fight on and on, even at 38. It's just, it's sort of crazy. It's a terrific tale for Oleksandr Usyk. So I think that's the most important thing, the fact that we shouldn't take anything away from Oleksandr Usyk. Yes, of course, people are going to look into what went wrong for Daniel Dubois. That's natural. I think personally he gave it a good shot, and he was beaten by the better man. Ultimately, that's what happened. It happened in Poland. I think Oleksandr was probably a bit irritated about all the talk about the low blow and maybe Daniel getting into the ring after the Fury 2 fight. I don't know, but he definitely wanted to prove a point. Last Saturday, he's got full respect for Daniel Dubois. Daniel's 27, he can come again. Frank's there for him, and it'd be interesting to see sort of how he learns from that defeat. As far as a party or a gathering, do I think it's the right thing to do on a huge fight day or night? No, I don't really think that a fighter should be around loads of people and have a routine disrupted. But Don said it happened before the AJ fight, and he went on and gave his best performance of his career. So if it worked for him, maybe that's what they do. They've always done things a bit differently, Dave Dubois and the team, and if that was the case, they did it before Joshua and they did it again, and it was just repetition, then You can't really argue about it. Does it seem odd? Yes. A gathering, a party on the day of a fight? Of course it does. I think whatever happened before, the thing that got me was the fact he was late to the stadium. I think whatever happened with the security getting in, Oleksandr was being taped up at 7:15, 7:30, and by 8:15 there was no sign of Daniel yet. Someone came into my ear saying he's not in the stadium. That really worried me because the main event was 9:45, 10 o'clock at night. So absolutely, that really surprised me. I mean, I've seen Lennox Lewis, who was there that night, sleeping in the dressing room for 45 minutes, getting there 3-4 hours before a world heavyweight title fight. So, but each into their own. If Daniel thought he just wanted to turn up, get out there, perform, that was the way they did it. I mean, what's he said about it? We've heard what Don Charles has said. Obviously, they're going to have a meeting, him and Frank Warren and the whole team, and they'll work out what to do next time. But I think it just takes away from Usyk's brilliance. Whatever happened before the fight, Daniel went into the ring, he gave his best, and he got beaten by the better guy. No disgrace there. He'll come again at 27. But let's put the attention back on Oleksandr Usyk, because every one of the 90,000 that were there will go away thinking we've seen a magician at work and one of the greatest fighters who's ever lived. So yeah, I think we're always going to look for reasons and for stories and for post-fight stuff, but the reality happened in the ring, and it was a 5th round brutal win for Oleksandr Usyk, and Daniel Dubois has got to come again.
What are your views on obviously it's not the first time it's happened with Daniel, but the quitter label being thrown around again?
I don't like it. I have respect for every single fighter that gets in the ring at whatever level, whether it's a journeyman, whether it's a 4-rounder, an area title like tonight, the Midlands title, whether it's a European, British, Commonwealth, whether it's world titles, whether it's elite. Every single fighter that gets in the ring has got my respect. I'm not brave enough to do it, so I would never say anything like that. I thought Daniel Dubois did as well as he could have done, and again, he got beaten by the better guy. No disgrace in that at all. Oleksandr Usyk's night.
Adam, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Always good to speak, and I look forward to catching up again soon. Thank you.
No problem.